Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Social 101 with 16 Ramos, founder of New Girls. Welcome.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you do a Social 101 with us today. I want to ask you some questions. I know you're really great at knowing your audience. So talk to us a little bit about how you gauge knowing your voice and then talking to your audience.
Okay, I think this is really a topic that I'm super passionate about because I spent a lot of time doing it. Everybody knows that in the Philippines, what drives the growth is really eradicating all of the barriers. But before I could even get the traction that I'm getting now and how I appeal to the masses as successfully as I do now, I kind of had to do my homework first. And there were some things that I needed to figure out in order for me to just reach out and relate to them on a personal level and a level that they understand. And, you know, whenever I explain these things to people, they look at me like, okay, so it's not just about posting. You mean there's actually work that needs to be done before we actually do those things? And I go, yeah, totally. That's exactly what I mean. Because before you could even go down to creating content, creating videos, creating marketing materials, and determining the kind of products that you should market, there are certain things that you should know about your audience, and there are certain things that you should figure out in order for them to understand you on social media. So my journey with this is kind of interesting because the Philippines, this market has been a really difficult or challenging market to penetrate, quite honestly. So certain things that I want people to focus on, and I think that I want them to figure out first or to know first before they create content is people's mindset about money and income from network marketing in particular. What do they think about MLMs? What do they think about network marketing in your market, in your country? What can your audience afford? And what are they into? What are their interests? What kind of emotion or tonality do they appeal to? What do they respond to most? And why would someone in your market need the business? Why would somebody there want to work with you? Why would they want the new skin business? So the first thing that I needed to figure out and why it was so difficult to talk to someone here is their mindset about money. And I think this is not unique to the Philippines. I think it's also the same for any other market that has had experience of getting burned with MLMs, with pyramid schemes, I mean, with those scammy companies. And here it has just been a real colorful history of MLMs popping up left and right. And for a time, people, it was good for a lot of people because these companies forced them to think outside the box and think big and know that they deserve to earn a lot of big checks and spend their time with their families, travel the world, and fire their bosses, leave their jobs and stuff like that. So they were comfortable with that idea until they were burned. So now, even more intensely than before, people hung on to their jobs, and they did not just equate the opportunity to get freedom into something that would get them burned, but they also equated their jobs as a form of stability for them because it is now a source of steady income for them. Like for them, it's guaranteed. Someone is going to pay me. This money is going to come at the end of the month. I'm guaranteed. But now when they're presented with an opportunity to make a lot of money, that just to them it is equals to a lot of risks and the possibility of them failing and getting burned. So that was the kind of mindset that we were trying to deal with as we were working. And as the new skin distributor, that affected us a lot because then our company did have not anything to do with that kind, to contribute to that kind of mindset because we are a legal company. We are so great and we do things ethically and we know where the money comes from. But unfortunately, that is the kind of mindset that I had to work with and try to break and try to deal with. So I think it's important for someone to know what does your audience think about network marketing. You can start with your family. You can start with the people you're connected to. You can ask questions. It's very easy to determine. What did you think about network marketing before you even entered Nu Skin? So knowing this would help you present your business in a way that's attractive to them and in a way that doesn't scare them. So that's one. I think, and then the second part that I needed to figure out was how much or what budget range can your market afford? I think this is one of the, if not the most important thing that someone should figure out, because simply put, if someone cannot, if the people can't afford what you're selling, they won't buy it. So, right? It's really simple. It's not anything complicated. So here I find that like the average income of a Filipino is like $400 to $500. And they would not spend more than $20 or $25 on a single product. And if they're going to spend more than that, it has to be either a 2-product package or a single product that can last them 3 to 4 months, because they like value for money, right? So based on that budget, you can then determine the kind of or the list of bestsellers you can then promote on social media. But that isn't the only thing that you have to figure out. There's what they can afford, and then what are they into. In the Philippines, we like everything that's whitening. It's quite the opposite in the States, because you guys like to tan and you like dark skin. But here we like to be fairer. I mean, I'm an exception, because I like my skin the way it is. I'm kind of brown skin, but here they like whitening scrubs. So the Lufro works very well. We have a whitening deodorant that sells really well. The whitening toothpaste as well, which is a global phenomenon right now. Everyone wants it. Yeah. The body Lufro isn't really meant to lighten the skin, but because it buffs really well and it exfoliates really well, it kind of has that side effect that it improves the skin tone, so people like it more for the side effect. The polishing peel has the same effect. It kind of lightens the skin tone, because then you buff your skin. And the advanced tinted moisturizer, because it's a multi-purpose product and it's value for money. It's SPF, it's anti-aging, it's moisturizing, and it's color correcting. So you get all of that in one product. So for them, it's really value for money, and it lasts such a long time. So based on people's interests and people's budget range, that is how we determined the kind of products that we can promote on social media. So I think if you're in another market, those are the things that you have to figure out, aside from what they can afford, what is trending in your market. Not only on a nationwide scale, you also have to look at your Facebook network, because there are exceptions. Like, you can be connected to certain people with a particular interest. For example, you're an athlete. Naturally, you'd be connected to athletes just the same, and they'd be interested in anything that relates to fitness, stamina, energy. So definitely it's going to be like a 40 max market or an R² market. You can also be connected to, like my sponsor, Rob, is connected to a lot of people who can afford more of the higher end products. So it's going to be an age lock market here, and it's going to be a lot of people who would like the age lock transformation, the galvanic, because they can afford that kind of stuff. So your network is like a fingerprint. It's unique to you. So not only do you have to know what people can afford in general in your country, because then when you get traction, then so you know how to talk to people outside your network, but at the same time you also have to know what the people you're connected to are into. So, and the way to figure that out on social media is pretty easy. It's a lot of asking questions. You can go about this, you can post something up on your wall. You can either do that or approach people based on what they posted, based on what they're up to. Like, hey, I saw that you're into working out. You know what? Started a business, and I think you'd be very interested in all of the nutritional supplements that my company has to offer, stuff like that. It's a lot of listening to your audience. Contrary to the idea that sales or selling is a lot of sales talk, it has to do a lot about listening. So you have to listen to what they want, what they can afford, and what they demand. So I had to spend a lot of time on that, because I didn't know that these are the things that I needed to know in the first place. So it took years for me to do trial and error and constant exposure of the different products for me to figure out that, okay, they really liked whitening stuff. Oh, they really, that my audience in particular, I'm connected to a lot of models, a lot of girls who are into beauty. They like to party a lot. They like to go out. And so they would like the beauty stuff. So those are the things I figured out. So I would say it's not like a cookie cutter system that one market should just have one list of bestsellers. You can have a customized bestseller list based on your Facebook audience as well. So mindset about money, what they can afford, what their interests are, and then verbiage. This is I think some people overlook because we share a lot of content when it comes to marketing our business. But the reason why you can take the same post from someone who's doing very well, like that post would have a lot of interaction, a lot of likes, and a lot of comments. You'd take the exact same post and post it up on your wall, and it wouldn't work as well, especially if you're in a different market, because of the context that goes into that post, right? And because of the tone and because of the energy that goes into that post is different. And there was actually, it's not anything magical. It's just there was a method that we figured out. That's why we craft our posts a certain way, and that's why there are certain terminologies that I use and don't use. For example, when I discuss incomes, I don't say make or earn this for yourself. Instead, I say get paid this much, or I'll pay you, because remember, I'm trying to deal with the employee mindset in this market. So we all know where the money comes from. Of course, it comes from retail profit once they market the product, right? But eventually they'll figure it out. But just to get them through the door and just to get them to decide, that is the kind of language that they understand. They want to get paid because they want a guarantee. Of course, you'd have to explain that if you sell X amount, then you get paid X amount. So it's semantics, but it is just as important. I also don't use the term training in any of my content. I'm not sure if this is the same for any other market, but here, training just suggests you have to be in a room and you have to be stuck there for 3 hours listening to a main speaker explaining something that is so complicated, I actually had to travel for it. So instead of using training in my content, I use the word coaching, personal coaching, online coaching instead, because that suggests a more personal touch to it. I'm more of a nurturing teacher or a coach to them, and I'd be more focused on their success instead of them sitting in a room and I'd be so untouchable to them and teaching them from far away. So I use that terminology. And more about incomes. This happens a lot now with the leaders in social media. We don't really discuss a lot of the millions. That is something that my audience does not understand. It's too big. It's too big for them to comprehend. So whenever I discuss incomes, I discuss it in terms of daily income and weekly income that they can get right here, right now, because they think in the short term. Because they used to think in the long term, and they used to think of the millions, and they got burned. So we don't want them to think about that. So now I just say, so the average income of a Filipino is $400 to $500. Even a boost of $200 to $300 in their paycheck is a big deal. The value of that is really big. So that is what I tend to focus on instead of the big money whenever I present my business. So there are certain terminologies, and I figured this out through trial and error. And I think that's where you can have fun. You know, people get scared of social media because it's too real sometimes, that when you fail in public. Yeah. But I'm afraid that you're gonna have to just take a risk, and these things are necessary for you to be able to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I failed a lot on social media. I used to promote products that just weren't right. I used terminologies that when you know how Facebook right now has Facebook memories of all of the things that you posted a long time ago, right? And I go back to all the things that I promoted, and I was just like, that's just so wrong. I can't believe I said something like that. And but these are, you know, it'll pass, and eventually you're gonna get to figure out these things. And I promise you, once you have figured it out, it'll be easier for you to relate to them and create content around the mindset that they have and around their interests. But I think also the last thing, but it's definitely not the least, would be why would someone in your market, or why would someone in your country need the new skin business? There are universal pain points. One is money is not enough. Their paycheck is not enough. Everybody feels that. Everybody feels that sometimes they're not getting paid enough. Not enough time is also universal. A lot of single parents working, both parents working just to make ends meet, so you can relate to them on that level. Traffic. People can like their jobs, but they don't like the commute, especially here, like Manila traffic is the worst. So traffic, but here, one thing that's unique is a big chunk of the demographic are OFWs, or overseas Filipino workers. So like my dad is an overseas Filipino worker. He works abroad. He flies and he stays abroad for about 6 months to a year. He leaves his family and then he comes back, stays for a month or two for his training for his next contract so that he can work abroad again. So you can imagine there's a big chunk of the population that has OFW members of the family. So you can imagine how many families are left behind just so they can get paid more, how many families get broken, and sometimes that member of the family doesn't even get to come back. So that's, to us, is unique because Filipinos are everywhere, and we are open to traveling far and far away just to give a better life to our families. So those are the pain points that I think are important for you to know. If there's anything unique in your city, in your town that people might find pain from, then I think that is something that you should also figure out, and that could be a good angle on how you present your business. So, but definitely, whenever I present my business, it's always something that they can do alongside their job, because remember, they don't want to leave their jobs. It's for them, that's stability. So I think if you're dealing with people who have the same mindset in that market, you have to understand that they don't want to leave their job, so you have to present your business in a way that it's like a side gig or a side hustle or a side project, because they want the best of both worlds. They want to take some kind of risk to work on their wealth, but they don't want to leave the stability at the same time. So you want them to decide that on their own, that when they're already making so much with their side project, then they decide to leave their jobs. But that doesn't have to come from you. They just decide that on their own. So now I could easily relate to my audience, because those things I took some time to figure out. And now that you know these things to look for, I think it'll take people now half the time that I did to figure out, because then I'm just freely sharing it to everyone that these are the things that you need to look for. And now you can be more intentional when you ask questions, when you make polls online, like, hey, I really want to make sure that you guys are seeing what you want to see whenever I present certain products. So are you guys into skincare? Are you guys into anti-aging? Ask questions like that, and listen a lot to your audience. I think that's the best thing to do and the best thing to focus on, even before they get down to creating lots of content for their audience, because they can be creating a lot of wrong things that can't work just because they didn't do their homework.
Yeah, I love that. Determining, things before you start posting everything out. Just be on social, figure things out, and then start posting your business on there. That I really like that.
Yes, that's super important. And I think that's one of the things that most people skip, because they think it's a lot of work. But I'd rather you work hard on something that's going to give you great results than learn it the hard way and be doing this wrong from the very beginning. So that those are the things that are necessary for each social media entrepreneur to know.
So when you sign somebody new up and you do that, about how much time do you tell them to kind of figure out their audience and ask questions before, if you didn't have them posting right away? If they don't know their audience, do you think it takes a couple weeks or just a couple days? What do you?
Because I've already, on a global scale, I already know pretty much what everybody's going to like. So what I do is I have my new distributors test some posts first. So I do have some posts that they can start with, and if it works, then we know that it's the proper thing for them to promote. And I've had some people who didn't do well with toothpaste because their audience doesn't care much about that, but they care a lot about skincare. So I think you figure that along the way, but it's important that they get that exposure started as soon as possible. So as a leader, then you just have to prepare what you think may work because you already did your homework. So I already have my list of bestsellers, the corresponding posts that go with every product. And I do start them out with the toothpaste because that is what sells a lot here. And it hardly ever happens to me that it doesn't work. But in the case that it doesn't, then I'm going to have them do another post of a different product at a different time. So that I don't really spend a lot of time not asking them to do exposures. I ask them to do that right away because that's the only way to know, trial and error.
Yeah. I love that. I was trying to think of other things. You covered so many great things. Do you, I know there's something that you do that's rather unique that I think is really cool. And that's having not necessarily new recruits, but their friends do a post. And then you kind of can gauge their audience as well, just by a really, I don't know, gentle post, like kind of something that's a little easy, right?
Yes. That's actually a result of people getting attracted to everything that I'm posting, and they kind of just approach me for that. Remember, they don't want to take a lot of risks, so they kind of just want to test and sample the business a little bit, and try to see if, oh, you know what, maybe this product can really work great for my friends and my audience. Why don't I try promoting it? And they do that even before they formally start the business. Yeah. And in return, they get some, because they pay these customers that order from them pay retail, so they make retail profit off of these promotions. So for them, it's just free money, and it's a no-brainer. It's kind of like a soft introduction, soft opening to their business. It's easier for me to discuss the possibility of them signing up being distributors. But before I even got to do that, there's really a lot of homework that I needed to do for them to be attracted to that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, but I love the teaching them how easy it is to post and sell the products before you even have to, talk about the business with people. I love the soft sell of that. I think that's really powerful. Something that's unique to what you're doing, which is really cool. Other kind of parting thoughts that you might have of advice? I feel like you've taught us a ton so far.
Yeah. I just want to, I guess it's for a lot of people who are still thinking about or starting social media. It's not something that for me is just an add-on. To me, you really have to put a lot of energy into interacting with people, and I think that's one common mistake that they think about social media. It replaces human-to-human interaction, and it doesn't. It's just supposed to make things easier for you. At the click of a button, you can reach thousands, but it still does not replace you building relationships with people and getting to know the people you're around. So if you're thinking that just because you're behind a computer, you're going to skip all of that, and if you're an entrepreneur or a distributor that's been doing this traditionally for a long time, that you're going to have to skip something that's your strength, you're not going to do that, because you're going to do a lot of that. You're still going to be connecting with a lot of your friends. You're still going to be talking to a lot of people. So there's a lot of work to be done, and if you really want to be successful on social media, then now's the best time to start, because you have built such a great network. The people who are actually going to be successful with this are the ones who have done it traditionally for a long time, because they've already built that relationship with their customer base, with their distributor base. So I do think if they open their minds and shift to this and bring that strength onto social media, they would be so successful, because they've already done their homework and they don't even realize it.
Oh, I love that. That is the most perfect parting advice that I think you could give anyone. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on a Social 101. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me. I had so much fun.